Okay, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Mother and Crone. But first, we got to talk about what's in our cups, and Melinda is going to head us in that direction with.
Pomegranate. This is our Mother's Day episode. Happy Mothers to all the mamas out there, and slash pagan parenting episode. So I wanted to talk about pomegranate because there's a lot of good things about pomegranate. So it's really good antioxidant. It's good for inflammation. It's really good for your immune system. It's also Some studies have shown that it might have anti-cancer properties,
Hmm.
and you can also use it as a facial toner. I'm not sure if I already said weight loss, sorry. But also good for, because it is an anti-inflammatory, it's good for that time of the month, with menstrual cramps and things like that. So it's really good for that. And I thought that was really interesting because I love pomegranates. I'll just eat the seeds and
Oh, so the fruit of
um,
hell.
yeah, I'm all about that. And so also the magical properties. It is the elephant. Oh my God, it's live. Sorry, you guys. The element is fire.
Oh,
Um, the masculine, the gender is masculine. Its planet is Mercury. And then some of the different names is Carthage apple, which I've never heard of that. So it's like other folk names. Uh, Grenadier and Malicorio. So that was interesting. And also Pound Garnet. Yeah,
that's interesting. Yeah, because
I
it's the
know.
color of a garnet.
It
You can get
is.
that deep, deep, deep red. It's not the
And if you don't slice it right, you might find yourself pounding it, maybe. I don't
Oh,
know.
you'll find it all over your house, your ceiling, your walls. Yeah,
Ugh.
but I love a pomegranate.
It
Up
and it's
north.
very good. It's good for fertility.
Oh, oh.
Also, luck, wishes, wealth, and divination,
Hmm.
which I thought was interesting.
I just know up north they come out. Usually we can get them like November, December timeframe. Of course, fruit of the underworld, the whole nine yards. So I was always on the lookout for them. Here in Florida, I get them more often. They're almost year round down here. So that makes it really nice. I can just go to the store anytime. I don't have to wait for a certain period to get my pomegranates. There is a way to peel them so that you
There
don't
is.
wear them. Yes.
There is. And
YouTube.
YouTube is really good for that.
Yeah, YouTube it. You can learn
YouTube
how
it.
to do it. But it
And
really
while you're on YouTube, go to Tea Time with Mother and Crone and like and subscribe. But yes, YouTube is great for that. It really is. Or Pinterest even. Pinterest
yeah.
has those little snippet of videos. So I want to get into it. Tonight we are talking about pagan parenting slash Mother's Day.
Yes.
So um, I actually have a really good book that I recommend. It's called Witchy Mama. You can get it where books are sold. I bought this, gosh, a long time ago. Magical Traditions, Motherly Insights, and Sacred Knowledge by Melanie Markey and Emily A. Francis. This is a really cool book because this starts from like all the way to fertility spells all the way through like childhood with your child and things that you can do in adolescence. So it kind of gives you that full, like from conception to, you know, childhood. It's a really neat book. Um, there's a few things that I wanted to point out, and then we'll take a midway commercial break. But as we said, Mother's Day, of course, fertility. You're a mom. Um, and also talking about the pomegranate. So I wanted to talk about fertility charms and symbols from around the world because I thought it would be interesting and appropriate. In China, bamboo is in the bedroom and is believed to boost fertility while keeping your home's front entrance clean and clear will help relieve barrenness. So I thought that was interesting. In
Yeah.
Mali, I'm
And
sorry.
keeping the front entrance clear is almost, if you look at it, keeping your clear and clean,
Yes, yes.
your
Well, and
vaginal
also,
thing.
yeah, and also just energetically, I think as well, so that
Yeah.
you're open to receiving. In Mali, wearing a necklace made of shells is believed to increase one's fertility.
Ooh.
And yeah,
Ooh.
beach bunny, you stay away.
Yes, that's why I'm going, ooh.
In Celtic culture, women who hoped for babies would make a string of hazelnuts that would be hung in the home or worn around the neck as a powerful fertility charm.
Hazelnuts? Really?
A string of hazelnuts.
Interesting.
Uh, yeah, I thought that was really interesting. And then just to skip ahead a little, so pomegranates is one of the things that was mentioned. And just as a brief little story for those of you that are not familiar with it, um, in ancient Greece, pomegranates were associated with Demeter, a fertility goddess, with Persephone, Demeter's daughter, and with Hera, the goddess of marriage. The fruits were often given as wedding gifts to help encourage lust and or an abundance of children. In China, pomegranates were placed on the bridal bed along with other fertility symbols in order to help bring children to a newly married couple. In Latin America and other places where Santeria is practiced, pomegranates take a prominent role in certain fertility rites.
Oh, I did not know that.
I did not know that either. Um, and it says the rite requires the woman to write her name on a piece of paper and to place the paper between two halves of a pomegranate. Yamaya, a Yoruban moon goddess, is then petitioned to help make the woman fertile, just like the fruit. And then it even includes the pomegranate fertility rite in full detail in here.
Oh, wow. Pretty cool.
Yeah. Another one is coconuts for fertility.
Really?
I
Coconut.
know. In Bengal, the milk from a green coconut that had been blessed by a holy person was considered to be a powerful potion to boost fertility.
Okay, that's interesting.
I
I
thought that
don't
was
see the
interesting.
connection, but okay.
In India, a special vase known as the Purna Kalasha is used in many fertility rites. Filled with water, topped with a coconut, and crowned with a ring of mango leaves. The Purna Kalasha represents the fertile womb. And the coconut is also associated with fertility in Sri Lanka. And then it has a coconut fertility rite in here.
Coconuts, I can see the pomegranate because it's a million seeds inside. So
Right.
obviously fertility. The coconut, I don't see it, but I'm sure it's really cool in the culture.
Well, maybe like, and I guess maybe also when they're talking about coconut milk, maybe like
Mother's milk, coconut
mother's
milk.
milk. I would maybe. I'm just throwing it out
That's
there. I don't.
possible. Oh no, yeah,
I don't.
it's wrapping your head around another culture's idea of something,
Right.
and we don't know the behind the scenes story of how the coconut was came to be. Just like we now know the story of why it's called the fruit of winter for the
Right.
pomegranate, the fruit of hell, because we know the story behind it. So once I'm sure the story behind it is understood, then you'll understand it better.
Exactly. And there's also animal symbols. If you like working with animal energy and animal medicine, which I particularly do, I love my animal workings. Animal symbols have also been employed by many people around the world in hopes of increasing the chances of getting pregnant and having a baby. In many cultures, bulls are associated with male virility and cows are associated with female fertility. In China, fish and elephants are associated with fertility. And that kind of reminds me of like a koi pond, even though with the fish. Frogs have received similar acclaim in South America, Central America, Italy, and Egypt. Have you ever heard of
Yes,
frogs being a thing in Italy?
yes.
Okay.
There's a lot of you have to remember Italy, when Rome went out and conquered everybody,
Right.
during the time. A lot of other cultures were kind of drawn in. So there was no actual Roman pantheon. They took the
Right.
Greek pantheon and converted it. So they did that with a lot of different things. So a lot of times when things, they say are Italian, when you go back and look through it, it really wasn't. We just kind of absconded with something, and
Right.
we're like the Borg. We just absorb. So we absorbed it into our culture. So sometimes you'll. That's why a lot of times you hear the same, almost the same or very, very similar stories about cultures and myths,
Right.
because as, I
They
mean,
take
you're
there.
right,
Right.
as people have spread out, and brought back this stuff, they bring back the tales of the other cultures. That's why they're saying now that they're constantly renewing and refiguring out, where the birthplace of man was, and how, like, we thought that, the Native Americans were 100% Asian and they come across the Bering Strait. That's what we were taught in school. Now we're finding out that no, that might not be how they got
Right.
there.
Right. Exactly. And then of course you rabbits, and that's the first thing that I think of. I mean, um, widely revered as symbols of fertility because of their prolific breeding. Um, England, United States, and other places. And some ways that it says you can incorporate the animal, is you can get like stoned, those little animal carvings that they have.
Yes, I have
Like,
one on my altar.
yeah, and you can put it in like you can carry it with you. Bra is always a good place for those crystals
Right.
for those of you that don't do that. But altar, you can put it on the altar, all sorts of things. Those little animal wood carvings. You can also, even what you wear. Like if you have like a scarf that has like an owl on it, my barn owls. Even something like that, if it had something like a rabbit or a frog on it for fertility, if that's what you're going for. And we're moving forward. We're not going to talk about fertility the whole time, I promise. Um, but I thought that was interesting. And then it goes into how you can, create a fertility altar, excuse me, and leave offerings there. You can visit it every day and meditate and things like that. So I thought that was interesting. And then moving on to pregnancy, there's essential oils you can use during pregnancy. However, some you should not use, never internally, but there's also some topically that are not safe during pregnancy. So I thought this was interesting to bring up. I'm not going to read all of them because there's a pretty good list, but do not use. So I'll read all the do not uses. How about that? And then warning, warning. Um, bay laurel, birch, cajeput, cinnamon, clary sage, clove, eucalyptus, ginger, juniper berry, lemongrass, nutmeg, pennyroyal, peppermint, rosemary, sage, Spanish sage, tarragon, thyme, white sage, and wintergreen. Those are the no-nos for topical essential oils.
Right.
And it makes sense if you think about those type of herbs because they're very strong herbs.
Well, some of those herbs are also herbs that can cause contractions.
Right, exactly. And
So
so,
there
yeah,
were a lot of herbs that, early shamans and Native Americans and, wise women used to use to end pregnancy.
mm,
So some of those that you mentioned, I remembered a few of them,
right.
because once you put it on topically, some of it does go into your system. That's
Right.
why it's
Goes
very,
through your
if you
skin.
are carrying, it is very, very important for you to even know what kind of hand cream you're using, as well as anything, body washes, shampoo. Um, I had I was, very high risk carrying
Hmm.
my son, and my pregnancies were extreme. So I had the list. It was better to give me the list what I could have, other than the list I couldn't have,
Right.
and a lot of things I didn't quite understand. But when you understand what process, whatever chemical you put on you contributes to your body, then you
Right.
realize how much stuff we do daily we don't even stop twice to think about.
Oh, I know. Absolutely. And we talked about that when we talked about the daily rituals, how we're doing rituals and not even realizing. So it's routine. But some of the ones, really quickly, so these are some safe ones, and I'm not going to do all of them, but just touch on some main ones. You dilute 1 to 3 drops of essential oil to 1 ounce of a carrier oil, such as sweet almond, jojoba, or organic grapeseed. Some of them would be blue, or what might also be called as German chamomile. That's good. Bergamot, frankincense, geranium, jasmine, lavender, myrrh, marjoram, rose, and lang lang. I always mess that up. So those are some main ones. So I thought that was important to point out. And I also wanted to touch on mother goddesses of different pantheons.
Oh,
So moving right on into that, Anahit, and I'm probably saying that wrong again. You know me, I apologize. Is Armenian. She's the goddess of healing, birth, fertility, beauty, water, and wisdom. Her symbols are the rose, the dove, gold, and water. Anahit can be called on to help with conception difficulties, protect the womb, ease childbirth, and aid in lactation. Connect with Anahit through dance, music, or offering of roses or water. You might also wear a special piece of gold toned jewelry to invoke her energies. And that brings up a point a lot of people don't realize. If you look at the different epithets of these deities that you are having a relationship with or you're researching more about, how really easy it is, and this points it out here, that you can tap into those energies that you're trying to, invoke. Like just wearing a piece of gold jewelry because this goddess is associated with gold. Just little things like that. Or like if I'm calling on Hecate and I want to have like my snake necklace on, or something like that. You
or a
don't
spare
realize.
key.
Right, or my key necklace. I have that too. Or I have her Hecate sigil too. So it's just like all those little things you don't realize. Some of some people think it's just a piece of jewelry, but you can. It's all about intention, so you can set that. Um, then there's also Sybil, goddess of motherhood, fertility, animals, mountains, and the wild earth. Her symbols use are unpolished stones and the lioness. Fierce, protective, and powerful, Sybil can be called on to provide extra strength, defense, and energy for mothers and children alike. Connect with Sybil through ecstatic music, drumming, and dancing, or by meditating on the lioness totem. So I thought that was cool. Um, Hathor, we mentioned her briefly a couple weeks ago when we were talking about Valentine's Day, I believe. But she is Egyptian goddess of childbirth, motherhood, fertility, love, joy, music, and dance. Known as the Mother of Mothers, Hathor can be called on for protection and comfort during childbirth to help ensure a pleasant and successful pregnancy and to increase the joy and pleasures of motherhood. Her symbols are cows, drums, sistrums, and mirrors. Connect to her through music making or by gazing into a mirror. So I thought that was interesting. And then I was trying to find some more lesser knowns, or at least not as mainstream. Um, well, those are the two main ones. Then, of course, you have Rhea, which is a Greek goddess of motherhood, fertility, mountains, and the earth. Gentle and comforting, Rhea can be petitioned to lessen the pains of labor and bring the mother's strength during delivery. Her symbols are the lion, the oak, and the chariot, and you can connect to her through playing drums, horns, or cymbals, through dancing, through offerings of oak leaves, or through meditating on the lion totem. So that I thought that was interesting. We have goddess deities, and one is a masculine totem and the other is a feminine totem.
That's interesting. Well, they say you got to be a strong woman to have a child, and men are not strong enough to have a child. So it's
And well,
puts it in
and
perspective a little bit.
right. And so also it's the way that I look at that is the balance, like the yin and yang, the knowing that we do have masculine and feminine energies in ourselves, and it's important to have the balance to draw on both of those aspects of us to be able to, set our intention with certain things. So I thought that was interesting. And then there was just a couple other things I wanted to touch on before we talked more about Mother's Day. Some other animals are bear, confidence, and practicality characterize the mother bear totem, encouraging us to make our kids our number one priority while making the best use of our skills and resources. So I thought that was interesting. In the wild, many bears, such as the American black bear, rely on their mothers for food protection and education. And then it goes just more into, how you could use bear. Crocodile, which I thought was interesting.
Crocodile?
I know. Wisdom, ferocity, and awareness characterize the mother crocodile totem. Crocodile mothers guard their nests throughout the incubation period, and they're so in tune with their babies that they can hear their cries even before they hatch.
Wow. Okay,
I
I'm
know.
learning that. I just can't fathom.
I know. I thought that was ferocious when danger strikes, but careful and protective toward her own brood. The crocodile mother reminds us that both strength and gentleness are necessary for successful parenting. I would have never thought of
I
crocodile.
That would have been the last creature. I'm thinking lioness, yes.
Makes sense.
Elephant, bear.
Bear.
I
You
mean,
always hear mama bear.
right. And you already associate that. I
Have my alligator tooth. Not a crocodile, but I have my alligator
You
tooth
have
because,
an alligator tooth. Yeah.
when in Florida, you kind
Yeah.
of,
When in Florida,
right?
actually, gator is quite tasty. I will tell you, I had it.
It's
Yeah.
It's done right. Now
It,
there has been restaurants here where I'm like, so caveat, but yes, it's good.
it's cute.
And we
I
don't want any hate mail from that either. We're allowed to say that. um, just a couple other things on the animals. So eagle is far seeing and high flying. The mother eagle totem illustrates the value of attaining a broad minded yet keenly aware perspective on parenthood. Eagle moms, and it reminds me of like Boy Scouts because of your background. Eagle moms keep a close eye on their young, staying with them in the nest for the first couple of months, then gradually moving to nearby perches to continue overseeing and providing food until the eaglets are able to fly and hunt on their own. So I thought that was the eagle mother reminds us to take a step back sometimes and see the bigger picture. So I thought that was
I
interesting.
can kind of see eagles in Maryland. We have a lot of sanctuaries, and they are very, very protective of their nests. So
Right.
I can kind of see that more than I can the crocodile. Sorry, I'm still wrapping my head around the crocodile.
I know. And the one thing about bear I wanted to point out, so although they're quite busy, mother bears know the value of rest. So be sure to save some time for extra sleep and relaxation. And we've talked about that in past episodes about the self-care and to know when you have to put yourself first and mom needs 10 minutes to meditate and leave me alone. Um, Elephant for commitment and compassion are the trademarks of the mother elephant totem, nursing their young for up to 3 years.
Well, they carry the baby for how long?
I know, I
It's
know.
like,
And I know. And keeping them close throughout childhood or beyond, elephant mothers are a source of affection, strength, and reliability for their children. The elephant mom reminds us to be dedicated parents committed to our duties and also urges us to accept help when we need it from the people we trust, which makes sense because of how they go in herds
well,
and things.
whenever they're attacked, they put the babies in the middle, and then
Mm-hmm.
they all stand with their butts towards the middle, face
And they're
out
sweet.
to attack.
Yep. And you can even see that in the Jungle Book. because
Yes,
that happens in the
that's
jungle.
I forgot about that, but yeah, I've seen that. National Geographic has had.
Oh yeah, and you can look on YouTube. I saw one actually the other day. A baby fell in a pool, and not only the mother but the other elephant were rallied, and they were frantically getting the baby out, but they were working together. It was really there,
Yes,
and
keeping
of
up.
course elephants are so intelligent. Um, so I thought that was interesting. And then gorilla is the peaceful, protective, and affectionate. The mother gorilla totem encapsulates the idea of nurturing, sustaining love. Mother gorillas sleep with their young, hold them, cuddle them, feed them, teach them, and protect them. For the first 2.5 years of the life, the young gorilla often travels on its mother's back for safety, observing everything she does and absorbing essential knowledge, all while strengthening the mother baby bond. The gorilla mother teaches us to give our time and energy to our babies, but not to be stingy with our shows of affection. And then this is another one you might not have thought of with the crocodile. Turtle.
Turtle.
Tenacious, methodical, and independent, the mother turtle totem illustrates the value of advanced planning and preparation. I thought this was interesting. After carefully choosing an ideal nesting site, the mother turtle lays her eggs and goes on her merry way, leaving it up to the babies to feed and protect themselves. I feel like
That's
this.
why I'm thinking nurturing. I'm like going, wait a minute, turtles leave their young.
Right. But what I love about this, if you hear everything that's being mentioned, it's a different totem for each different style of parenting, a different type
Yes.
of mom that you are. So I thought that was interesting. Like if you're the eagle mom, how it kind of, and then it says, yeah, leaving it up to the babies to feed and protect themselves. It might sound heartless to us humans, who hopefully know better than to abandon our babies, but at the same time, the freedom enjoyed by the turtle mother is attractive and reminds us to avoid the urge to hover and micromanage every aspect of our children's development. Our babies, just like turtle babies, have instincts, and they need a reasonable amount of room to grow and explore independently of their parents. Turtle mamas are not always so uninvolved, however. Yellow bellied sliders have been observed teaching their young how to swim, while Amazonian river turtles have been heard communicating with their hatchlings through vocalizations intended to coax the turtles into the water. Turtle moms take their space, but only after they take care of business. So I thought that was cool.
That's interesting. That's an interesting perspective on motherhood. It really is.
It is. And the last one was wolf, which,
Ah,
yeah. Intuitive, intelligent, and family oriented, the mother wolf totem teaches us to trust our instincts and to value our social and emotional bonds. For the first few weeks after a mother wolf gives birth, she rarely leaves the den, preferring to stay with her pups to provide them with milk, warmth, and protection. As the wolf pups grow, other members of the wolf pack lend their aid to care and educate the young. Wolf mothers have tremendous endurance and are highly reliant on the rest of the pack, reminding us that even though we can survive independently, we can all use a little help now and then.
that's probably the best one I've heard so far
Yeah,
because we are under the impression that we are women, we can do it all.
we
And
have
I
to be
prefer
super.
it takes a village to
Oh,
raise a child.
I totally agree with that. Yeah, and the whole stigma of you have to be super mom
Everything.
and
Yes.
you have to do, absolutely. So skipping over really quickly to there was I wanted to kind of touch on little aspects for everyone tonight. So like people that might be more into animals and then people that might be more into crystals. There's some crystals in here too. Um, Now these are for peace and relaxation, and this goes back to the mama and needing peace and relaxation. You can also carry them. You can carry them throughout the day, place them around your home, out of reach of small children, of course. um, and you can of course hold the stone in your hand to help calm yourself. So this is like more talking about fast forwarding like after childbirth when tantrums are happening, you're up all night, you're not getting any sleep, those type of things, or just in general. Like now I have, a 4, a 12 and a 22-year old, or you who has grown kids. These are still good general crystals for peace and relaxation,
Yeah,
no
as the kids
matter.
are grown, you can pick them up. You're holding it. You can always toss them for
Yeah.
peace and quiet.
Yeah,
If you hit them just right, it'll knock them out for a couple hours.
there you go.
I did not say that.
So just to name a few, your agates are good. Blue lace, crazy lace, which I don't know if I've heard of that. I'm gonna have to talk to Miranda about that.
We are going to have to talk to her. I don't think I've heard of
Go
crazy
to
lace.
go to the store and be like, "Hey, give me some of that crazy lace agate."
I drive her nuts when I go to her store anyway.
And then moss agate also
Oh,
eases fears, relieves stress, and encourages hope and cooperation. Amethyst lowers stress, restores balance, brings contentment, transforms negativity, and promotes peace. Aquamarine clears the mind, calms, relaxes, promotes peace. Um, and they all are relatively the same, so I don't want to just kind of be repetitive.
yeah.
But carnelian, howlite, jet, lepidolite, moonstone, rose quartz, and topaz were some good ones. So I thought that was good. And then as far as it also talked about different scent magic for sleeping to help your kids go to sleep. Now, I still have to deal with that, and she's 4. But it's mostly because big sisters, close proximity, they have a later bedtime, so she's sure as hell not going to go to bed at a normal 4-year-old bedtime when big sister is staying up until a you know
Yes.
teenage bedtime. So it's like, but I have, luckily, it's kind of fun for Fiona. So we'll do like, it's like the night night magic lotion, and it's all full of lavender and stuff like that. And but you can also do little satchels. That's really sachets and little mojo bags. You can make your own sprays with essential oil and spray their pillow. I used to always do that with the kids. Um, but chamomile, geranium, lavender, rose, and vanilla are good scents. It actually even says vanilla is a rich, warm scent that soothes and relaxes to promote deep, peaceful sleep. Now, I love vanilla, but you always hear about lavender, but you don't necessarily hear
Yeah,
about these
you
for
don't
sleep.
hear about that. I mean,
Always
lavender's
hear
always
about
been out
lavender.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah,
And then,
the vanilla is a good idea. I never thought about that. The other thing I like, if you have a smaller child who will not get out of the crib, or an older child that you can trust around the little misters, you can drop a few essential oils in that and mist the room with that. Kind of like a humidifier when they're little, when they need, their nose opened up and you run the eucalyptus.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, you can do the lavender the same way. We had an issue. All children go through it. There's a period of time where they don't want to sleep. When
Mm,
it's usually critical when you need to sleep, they can't sleep. I've noticed that there's something in the mechanism there.
yeah.
And yes, I
You know,
have used the lavender in, his little mister. I, fill it up with like lavender, and you set it there and it's like, it would help. Any
and also
kind
I
of
try to make it fun. Like,
a nighttime
well,
ritual usually makes it fun. If you
it
do
does.
some kind of something that they know that it's special, that it's, just a certain thing for them kind of thing, and it makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah,
Then there's
because
times when you need the Benadryl.
I yeah, yeah. So Fiona and I, because she, out of all the kids, has like, at this age, is like the worst about going to bed. But like I said, she also has the older sisters where, so, but we make it like a fun little thing where we talk about dreamland, and we go and we'll visit each other in dreamland, because I'm sort of trying to teach her like the astral plane, and trying to wedge that in there. But like, she doesn't realize what I'm getting at yet. She's 4, but we kind of make it fun, and in her mind, she loves mermaids, so she's like, we're mermaids in her dreams. And so we'll meet each other in dreamland, and we'll talk about, well, what color is your mermaid hair going to be tonight? Oh, and what color is your fin going to be? And we just make it fun, and we talk about the Sandman, and we're like, come on, the Sandman's waiting for you. He's got to sprinkle his Sandman dust and get you all to have a good night's sleep. Just little fun things like that. And it helps most of the time, most
Yes.
of the time.
There it was. I had a 2-year-old teething and a 16-year-old, and I now I look back and I'm like, oh my goodness, my daughter would come in and you're grounded for a year. Why, what did I do? You breathed.
Right.
You
We
just,
all have those moments.
you do. And it used to be you grew up multi-generational families together. So there was always someone that could help you, usually an older female relative, grandma, aunt that could come over and just give you those little words of wisdom when you are at your wits end and you're a mess. You're in a puddle in the middle of the floor and you just can't function, come in and just tell you a silly story or just help you along. We're very much isolated now, and we've almost done that to ourselves. And I think that's a real shame. We don't celebrate our motherhood with our womanhood. And
Yes.
we miss the growing up with the grandmother or the aunt or the great aunt. I mean, some of us were lucky enough to see those. And you kind of isolate. You go to a different town, you move somewhere different, you're just hanging out with friends your age. But what you're missing out on is all of those years of wisdom.
Right.
I was fortunate. I got to grow up for a period of time with my grandmother, my father's mother. So there were words of wisdom that were given to me, there were things that were said. His My father's brothers and sisters were all very close, um, and so I grew up with a lot of aunts and uncles that I was close with. So it
Right.
kind of helped that I had that gap to fill in. But I was the only relative in Baltimore, and when I gave birth to my son, there were things I didn't know. I, I adopted. I had older children, but I had this newborn, and it's like, now what do I do? And I was fortunate. I did have an aunt who would relay things to me like, don't you remember when you were a baby and this happened? And I'm like, sure, I remember.
Right.
Okay. But we isolate now, and we're not looking at those generations that used to be like a house down or across the street or even in the same house where they could
Right.
give you some of those words of wisdom. So it's much harder for women today because you're not, very many times, you're not even in the same state as your mother.
No.
You
I
know,
mean, I didn't know my grandmother because we were in Jacksonville. My grandmother lived in Arizona, so my mom was not with her. So
right,
it's like, and because of that, I never really knew my grandmother, and she passed when I was young. I mean, I was 8 or 9. So I mean,
right.
and I've
And you
only
didn't get those generational stories about,
no,
oh, when, your uncle was teething, we did this, or if he had a upset belly, we did this
right.
kind of
And then
thing.
my dad's side of the family, I was born in California, and my dad's side, they're all still over there. So even then, I didn't have that.
Right.
So it's like, and I mean, of
Yeah.
course, we talk and things, but it's not like that in the home, seeing
Or
each other
close
every
by,
month.
right? That they could say to
Right,
you, you could say the baby's been up all night. What am I going to do? And you're in tears and your nose is running. And, you have this older female who can say, let me tell you how to fix that. You know,
right.
and I was very fortunate. I did not have my mom, but I had a wonderful aunt and probably the world's best mother in law.
Cool.
I had one
I
of,
don't, I,
later
yeah,
on, I
I
didn't.
had a really great mother-in-law too, and I miss her.
Yeah,
She's passed now, but yeah, I mean, it's
I
so funny
was,
when I hear about all the mother-in-law stories because it's like, boy, I got lucky because mine was awesome. Like,
uh, My mother-in-law Shipley was probably a saint. She is. I swear she is.
Hmm.
She would come over every day and help me with my son every day.
Yeah.
And everybody, all you women can relate to the 2 year old who can absolutely get into everything and climb everything. And you might be at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you're still in your pajamas because you have not had 10 minutes quiet time where you could get into that shower. She would come over every day and watch him so I could at least get my shower.
That is awesome.
And
That's really awesome.
she used to say to me, "Oh, I feel like I'm being a burden, or if I get to be an annoyance, do you know how much I depended on her to come over every day?
Oh, yeah, I bet.
She will be here in 30 seconds.
And
If I
you
could
know what?
last out."
You know what always killed me is was like, oh, when your baby sleeps, you sleep. No, that's when I'm doing everything else I gotta get done, like laundry or whatever, washing my face or washing my butt. It's like gotta take a shower. It's like, yeah, no, I remember having the baby monitor in the bathroom with me while I showered just so I could shower because I had, maternity leave and Mike's job for Haley at least he got paternity leave with Fiona, but the job he was at with Haley, he only got to leave, to see her, meet her, and he had to go back to work. Like there was no, so it was just me a lot of the time by myself, except for at night. And even then, I breastfed, so he would help as much as he could, but it's like you can't breastfeed, so and I couldn't pump, so he couldn't help in that department at all. So it's like I have to shower. It's like
Right. And that's what I'm saying. I had this woman every day, Monday through Friday, at my doorstep.
that's
And
awesome.
there would be days when she'd come to that door and I would just hug her and cry.
Yeah.
And she was one of those, "It's okay, honey. We're going to get through this." And it was like those words, hearing those words were, I don't know, it's like breathing life back into you again. And every mom out there can relate to that because you have those episodes or those periods where you question, am I doing this right? Am I good? Is my kid going to grow up warped? I mean, you have all
All
of this and
and
your
there's
head like,
no rule book. There's no rule book. There's none of that.
they don't come with a manual. I
It's
look,
trial and error.
unless somebody stole my manual when I had my son, but he didn't come with one. There were just, and there's seriously, unless you have a very close relationship with an older woman, there's questions about your body and things when you have a baby that the doctors never tell you. So I was fortunate I could ask these, what I thought were stupid questions, but
Yeah.
they turned out to be legitimate questions. And
Right.
she could answer them. And I was like, "You
Yeah.
are the source of all that there is. You are Gaia, woman." She was a
Right.
goddess.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate. I recommend, and I know I'm a great grandmother, so I can tell you it's hard sometimes not to step into
Hmm.
the fray, but sometimes as younger moms, we want to prove we can do it all. There are times when we need to step back and say, "I need help,"
Hmm. Oh yeah.
because it becomes overwhelming.
It does, absolutely. And those people that have all their kids close together, ooh, I don't know how they do it. Mine are spread apart and I have a hard enough time. But I don't think I could deal with like baby. Like, oh yeah, they're like 18 months apart. I'm like, no, why? Like,
Yes.
how do you do it? I
Uh,
mean, I get some of them are like, yeah, I get them done early and then, but it's like, and of course, you know, to each his own. Most of them are not planned anyway, so whatever.
but I recommend for any of you younger moms or those who are planning to be moms, just start thinking about, the times when you're going to need somebody, the times when you're going to need that. If you have someone you can even pick up a phone call or Zoom to,
Yes.
there's going to be times when it becomes a challenge and then it goes beyond the challenge and you need a phone number, you know.
Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be, like I said, I don't necessarily have that grandmother to call or that's close by. But if you have good girlfriends and they can relate and be like, I'll call Pam. Guess what the hell happened? Fiona broke a second flat screen TV. It's like, well, how does that happen? And yes, that's a true story. Um,
But it's nice to have someone you can talk to because there's a lot of things, and we talk about it on Red Tent. If you get a chance to do Red Tents, if you guys do them in your different traditions or your different temples,
mhm.
I think I'm going back on the Red Tent circuit again soon. Um, I've been requested. um, it's good to join a red tent, and have that group of your tribe of women, your village that's going to help you raise this child,
Mhm.
and having a couple of different ideas, and things that you can think of to do, because sometimes it won't work with one child. What worked with one won't work with another child.
Oh
And
my
I will
God.
tell you that I think they're purposely genetically predisposed that way, because you get it down pat with this one and you have this one, and it's
And it throws a wrench in the whole thing. But like, hey, I did this together. That's actually kind of why I thought it was a bright idea to start my first degree when Fiona was a month old, because my train of thought was, well, this isn't my first rodeo. I wasn't thinking that they're 8 years apart, and you would not believe how much changes as far as baby products and things you can buy and different types of cribs and different types of strollers and different, just in 8 years, just from 2009 to 2016. I'm
I
like,
know. And it's
2000, excuse me, when
insane.
I was pregnant.
And like I said, if you don't have somebody who is, you have a couple different opinions, because what works for one won't work for another, but at
Right.
least, if nothing else, they can tell you the child will survive.
Right. And also the same can be said for parenting styles. What, you know, doesn't work for one parent works for the other. We all have different parenting styles. But really quickly, I wanted to touch on a couple other things as far as the kids go, and then we'll take a little um we'll wrap it up soon, but we do have to announce the winner of the giveaway. So before I continue, we do have a winner. As some of you may know, we were doing a keyword, and so the keyword, for the past couple of weeks, or a few weeks rather, during the month of April, as this is a new thing that we started doing, was Hersini, and it ended last Sunday, May 2nd at 9 p.m. We closed it off. And so we do have a winner, and it is Michelle from Colorado. So congratulations. You're going to get a tea time mug.
Okay, Michelle, we'll get that out, this week in the mail, and get it out to you so that you now can have your mug. And if you can take a picture of the mug,
Yes.
that would be.
Or you can, if you don't want to be in the picture, as we said before, especially, well, I can't recall if she said she's near the mountains. Like, of course she is. She's in Colorado, but like, I mean, then you
In
could
the
just take
mouth.
a picture of the cup, in front of the mountains. have
There
it,
you
have the
go.
scenery there.
That would
Um,
be awesome. But yes, we will definitely get that out to Michelle. And thank you, Michelle, for listening to our show and for,
yes.
participating in our cute little, giveaway. Now, just to remind everybody, we're doing one giveaway a week for
Hmm.
the next couple of weeks. So we want to make sure, everybody gets a chance. It's real easy. You have to be a subscriber to the YouTube.
Yes, Tea Time with Mother and Crone. You just have to subscribe. And then also by subscribing, like we're recording this on Thursday night, you get to watch us while we're live and get a little sneak peek ahead of time. And we stream, of course, on Sundays, which is when most of you will be seeing this. Um, but yes, so you will just email teatimemc@gmail.com, and that's THYME, with the keyword, the correct keyword, and then we will put you in a drawing and pick a winner and announce it for the next week's show. So that is how that works, and you just have to be a subscriber to the YouTube channel. And for this week's keyword, it is mother.
Okay, we're going to repeat it again. It is mother. So we're
Mother.
going to see how many people. We'll repeat it a couple times during the show. So don't, panic if you just tuned in and you're like, I missed it. No, we're
Or
going
you
to
can
repeat it.
just click back and rewind. um,
Rewind.
but yes, so Mother's Day. Today is Mother's Day. Happy Mothers to all the mothers, in every sense of the word, no matter what that means to you. Um, so I thought that would be cool, and just email us with the answer and subscribe, and we will draw and announce it next week. But I wanted to touch on really quickly because we've talked a couple times about magic and food and setting intentions and the different properties of the different fruits and vegetables that a lot of us might not realize. One of the things, a lot of people, and I noticed it, in more recent time, well, and also in older times, um, that people are making their own baby food. Of course, we used to do that way back in the day, but
Yes, we
then
do.
everybody was a Gerber baby. Everybody was a Gerber baby. But now it's sort of become like a trendy thing. They have like even a magic bullet for baby food. I mean, there's a whole world out there, which is great. But some people don't realize that these different things have magical properties as well. And I thought this was really interesting. So, and this is specific to baby food and magical attributes. So, apple is for love, happiness, healing, peace, beauty, and vitality. Avocado is for beauty, love, calming, and dreams. Banana is calming, contentment, intelligence, and prosperity. Broccoli is health, protection, strength, and abundance. Carrot is luck, power, energy, insight, and clear vision, which literally it's beta
Business.
carotene. You're right. Cauliflower, relaxation, stamina, peace, and healing. Mango is cheerfulness, satisfaction, love, and luck. And then there's just a couple more. Pear is longevity, blessings, comfort, and solitude. And then sweet potato is health, strength, growth, and prosperity.
That's
So I
pretty
thought that was
exciting.
I
Yeah.
thought that was interesting. And then jumping forward to kid magic, we've talked about different things that you can do with your kids, different rituals, different ways to get them involved. Um, these were a couple things that you could do with your kids. And one of the cool things that I read was a psychic coloring game.
Ooh.
I know. So it says get some crayons and a coloring book and ask your child to select a page for you to color. Let your child look at the image for a moment, then ask them to close their eyes while you color something in. With eyes still closed, ask them if they can guess which color of crayon you used and what element of the picture you colored. For instance, did you color the doggy yellow? Or did you shade in the lady's hat blue with pink polka dots? Take turns and see how many correct picks you can make. You might start with just a few color choices, then incorporate more crayons as you get in more practice and sharpen your psychic skills. I thought that was so neat.
That is actually something pretty awesome to start to see how, if any
Yes,
of
and
you
you can
have
start
that skill.
Yeah, and you can start them so young. And I'm a firm believer that we're all psychic. It's just a matter of practicing and honing it. I
Yep.
don't think that ever goes away. Um,
Well, if
so
you ignore it, it's like a muscle. We
it's
all have
dormant,
a muscle.
right?
If you don't use it, it's going to atrophy and
That
it's just going to lay there.
pineal gland right there.
But once you start flexing that muscle and using it, it's going to develop. So that's not only a great way to develop it. Can you imagine the amazing fun that you can have with
Oh
that?
my gosh, I know. I thought that was really neat. So I had to make sure I included it because I just thought that was so neat. There's another thing that you can do called pick a crystal. Talk about five or so crystals and show the child all of them. Choose crystals of different varieties such as smoky quartz, rose quartz, citrine, clear quartz, and amethyst. Of course, make sure they're large enough so the child doesn't choke. Encourage your child to touch and play the crystals. Let them get to know the energy of each crystal and then take the crystals away for a moment. Have the child close their eyes, then place one crystal in the palm of their open, flat hand. Tell them to keep their eyes closed, but see if they can tune into the energy of that crystal and tell you which one it is. So
Wow,
I
that's
thought,
pretty cool.
I know. And then another variation of that is pick one of the crystals and let your child charge it, holding it in their hands and filling it with loving, happy vibrations. That's another lesson that can be learned, teaching your kids about charging and what that means.
Energy.
Yeah. And just tell them to hold the stone and think of something happy or something they love and send their energy into the crystal. Next, mix the crystals back together. Have your child close their eyes and place the crystals on their palm one by one, asking them with each crystal if that's the one they charged so that they can feel that energy.
Wow.
And I thought that was really interesting because a lot of times, and when I do readings or something, or when I'm doing Reiki sessions, I feel everyone does it differently, but like for me, it's almost like a rubber band pulling the middle of my palm is the only way. It's like a real tight tension, and then there's heat when I feel it. So I thought that was really neat. And there's all these little lessons in these fun things, and they're fun. They're fun. You can do them with your
My
kids.
goodness, you can do the coloring book. I really like because that's something you can do at any age.
Any
Because
age.
we all like to color, even me.
Yeah.
I have my
Well,
own
and even the
book.
crystal you can do with any age.
Yeah.
And then it talks about touching trees, which I have a adorable picture of Fiona just like whispering to a tree. Oh my gosh, it was the cutest thing. We were at a park and she was just whispering, and then she would put her ear up to the tree. It was so cool. Um, but touching trees is another wonderful way to encourage your kids to explore the magic and energy of the world around them. Let them feel the various energies of different trees. Let them sit at the bottom of a tree and look up. Let them hug the tree. Let them feel the bark and the leaves. Let them try to stand like trees. Go to a park or wild area and show your children different trees like maples, oaks, or pines. Have them place a hand on the tree and ask them to notice what the tree feels like, what kind of energy it seems to have. After trying this with a few different trees, ask them to close their eyes. Lead them by the hand to touch one of the trees, or perhaps a different tree of one of the same species. Ask your child if they can tell you which type of tree it is just by feeling its energies.
I feel a camping trip with Crystal's Cavaliers coming on.
I know. I thought that was interesting. And for those of you that don't know, Crystal Cavaliers is our children's ministry slash scouts group with the Corellian tradition. We are revamping the handbook to make it more Corellianized. However, we are going to be starting to do ritual again. We're going to start being doing Zooms again and having the meetings with the kids and the different lessons and things like that, and talking about and doing stuff just like this. The coloring, I could totally see us doing the trees and the coloring.
Yeah, I can totally see that. Even with the quartz, you
The
can
crystal,
actually, with the crystals, you can actually just go and get the rocks that you see
yes, out in the
while
wild.
you're out in the world, out and about type thing.
Exactly. It does not have to be a mineral. It can just
Right.
be,
It can actually be just it. But it's kind of fun, to be able to do your witchy thing and include your child in a
it is
fun witchy thing where you're
right. And then, like we've talked about before, it instill, it's memories. It's what they're going to remember and what they may teach their children if their children, decide to follow the path. And then it talks about earthing. We've talked about that
yes.
before. Going barefoot is a great method for staying in tune and in touch with the grounding, nurturing, strengthening energies of Mother Earth. If you're somewhere safe where the ground is free of pokey objects Encourage your kids to go barefoot. Ask them if they can feel the energy of the earth climbing up through the soles of their feet to help nurture their spirit and ground their bodies. So, there again is another lesson on grounding. You got the charging with the crystals, you got the psychic energies with the trees and the coloring game, and now you're learning how to ground. You're teaching them how to ground. And we've talked about this before. It doesn't have to be super complex and overwhelming. Like, don't overwhelm your kids. They're not going to have fun. They're not going to want to do it. And then there was rattle crafting, magical paper planes and helicopters, bubble wishes, and you would love this, a DIY fairy garden.
Ooh.
Yeah. And a boo boo soothing charm for the boo boos.
Oh my gosh, that would be perfect because they can make their own boo boo charm.
They can.
Yeah.
And it's basically just talking about move your hand. So basically have the hand above the injury. Don't touch it, but instead just hover over it. And this is similar, Reiki. Try to tune in to your child's energies. Move your hand back and forth and notice the difference in how the energy from the injured part feels in relation to the feeling you get from the surrounding skin. And this, of course, is like talking about scrapes and things like that. Not like a broken leg. These are boo boos, people. um, so, can you feel heat or a sort of sharpness or tingling? This is the pain or infection. Move your hand as if you are drawing this energy out and away from your child's body. Pull those painful energies up into your palm, hold them tightly in your fist, then shake your hand vigorously while you say or think neutralize. And this is, as you would know, Pam, this is basically Reiki.
It is. We're going
it's
to say it's Reiki.
it's Reiki. So I
But
that's
you
all I
never
have.
start that too young, seriously.
No,
I mean,
no,
that's,
you
I like the idea of the boo boo charm because many times when they fall and they get hurt, and we all have been there, it's
mhm,
not the hurt,
no.
it's something else causing it. But if you could give them, well, let's go find which boo boo charm will work today.
Right.
We had a
And
couple of them made.
yeah, and it's not even about the hurt, it's the like if they get a scrape and it bleeds, oh gosh. Like forget it. If they see red, they think they're dying. It's like you
Yeah,
have
like the
a rug
night
burn.
in Holy Grail. I mean, Monty
Right.
Python. Joe was only a flesh wound. Um,
I love that movie.
yes, but unfortunately for our children, if it's just a bump, I mean,
Right.
it makes sense to me to make three or four of those little bags, the boo boo bags, and then the
Yeah.
child can pick out which one is going to make that specific boo boo feel better.
And how cool would it be to even incorporate that with like our scouts like first aid kit? Like you have the actual Western medicine meeting, the spiritual side of it. I think that would be really cool. Like you get some neosporin and a band-aid and a boo-boo charm.
And a boo boo charm. There you go. I mean, that's kind of very special for a child because many times the band aid is in their mind curing the
It
problem.
Yep.
So if they're not necessarily physically hurt, it's more emotional or
Mhm.
spiritual, however they're feeling at the time.
Right.
Sometimes I have put band aids and have no idea why, but the band aid went on, the child felt better, and off they went. And that's all you're looking for as a parent, you
Right.
know, is to make sure. And the kids will bump into something, and a bigger brother or sister will say something smart, and then the tears start, and they are
Mhm.
really not hurt physically, but you've made sure. I mean, you always double check, but
Yeah.
then you put the boo boo band aid on.
Yeah, and don't even get me started on like with Fiona and Haley did the same thing. If their older sister is laughing, oh, she gets so pissed. Like it doesn't matter if she's hurt or not. If she thinks that you are laughing at her,
Yeah.
oh, just get and she's like doesn't she does understand but not in the moment. Like we're laughing because you said something really hilarious as 4-year-olds tend to do. It's
Yes.
like some off the wall thing that was just like, oh my god, I can't believe that just came out of her mouth. Um, but
You
yeah,
know what
it's
would be another neat thing to do in the first aid kit is to get a couple Band-Aids and have the kids write sigils on them.
that would be really cool.
Wouldn't it be cool?
Write it
They could
down
pick the
so
sigils
we
that they
don't
wanted
forget.
to put on their boo-boo.
Yeah, that would be so cool, like a
You know,
little healing sigil.
you
Oh,
write it on the wrapper, obviously, so you don't.
right.
But I mean, just something like that would
That's
be
a cool
something
idea.
interesting. The brain just kicks in occasionally, once in a while it burps and something intelligent comes out. Scares me too, guys. Trust me.
Or depending on how big the boo boo, you can put like if you have a gnarly big rug burn or something, then you could just put like a sigil and neosporin in that
There you
antibacterial.
go. And yeah, slap that Band-Aid on it.
There you
No, I
go.
mean, there's a lot of things that we don't even think about. We are so used to that Western medicine, and okay, you fell. You go through it's bruised. You need to
Right.
take away the bruising, so you need an anti-inflammatory. You need. I was trained in first aid, so you go down what you need.
Scouts is talking.
Yeah, and then it's like, maybe, but if we start incorporating a little bit more of that Eastern medicine in there, like the sigils and the special boo-boo bags and all, I think that we're treating not just that boo-boo, but the whole
The whole thing.
child.
And
Because
that's what we've talked about, the mind, body, and spirit, the whole wellness. And like we've said, it doesn't have to be so complex and
no,
so formal with the kids. They don't need all that.
it's just the age of the child you're dealing with and what they can best understand. The Facebook thing about a woman, a 4-year-old, was asking, why her uncle was with another man. And they said, well, they love each other. And it's like, oh, okay. And, you're going to have another uncle. Okay, can I have another cookie? The child is scarred for life.
Yeah.
Most of the time, none of that sets in.
They don't care about that stuff. It's just like
It's the meaning, the feeling, like you can remember when you fell and your mommy kissed your boo boo, or wiped brushed away your tear, or
yeah,
you busted your lip and mom gave you that popsicle that you weren't supposed to have,
right.
kind of
That she
thing.
felt bad and you're pulling on her heartstrings because you got a busted lip.
And that's the easiest way I know to get ice on a kid's lip,
Right.
to get the
There you
swelling
go.
down, is to give them a popsicle. So I mean, there was a reason behind it, but it also, it's that spirit and that mental that we're dealing with at the same time. So the child is taken care of physically. They've been given a treat, so that makes brings their spirit up a little bit, and it's no longer so scary because mommy took care of everything.
Exactly. Exactly.
So that's
And
really
and I have permission just going on the pagan parenting sort of thing because it's something new that I'm going to do that I never had the opportunity to have for me, and I didn't do it for Erica because she's not, Haley and Fiona are following along more my footsteps, but I have permission. Um, Haley, we're going to be having a ceremony for her because today, womanhood.
red tent.
I cried. I freaking cried like a loser. When
No, that's
she
a
told me, and I was like, oh my God, Angela and I have been talking about this and planning this for years. And now I immediately messaged Angela and I was like, the time has come. Start planning. We've been talking about it for years.
this
And
would be her coming of
I
age.
already told her. I know. I told her. I said, just get ready because all your fairy godmothers are going to be putting on a ceremony for you. And she was like, oh, okay.
Oh, you've got to get Lord Don to get you the coming of age certificate he draws.
Oh, I didn't know about
Oh,
that.
that's old
Mm.
school. That's old school. Some of us older ones remember
I'll have to butter him up.
that. Oh my gosh, he did the coming of age when he did life rituals somewhere in
You
my house.
probably have it in a binder
I
somewhere.
have it in a binder, but
Yeah.
you might just want to, you know.
So you
Uh,
know you'll have to come up for that. I'll let you
oh
know.
my goodness, yes, I definitely have to come up with that. That's got to be something. That is, we always talked about it as the curse.
Mm-hmm.
the bad stuff, but we don't celebrate the fact. I mean, men celebrate when young men come of age,
Right.
and we never celebrate ourselves. We always put it in the dark.
Yeah. And you know what's really neat is some of the pagan parenting groups I've seen lately, which I didn't know it was a thing, but now I'm hopping on the bandwagon because I think it's really neat. They are putting together like care packages for their daughters, almost like a big gift for the coming of age. And it'll have like a cycle tracker journal type thing.
Right.
It'll have like different, red candles. It'll have like a pack pads or something like that, like a care package. But there's some that are so elaborate and really thoughtful. And it's like, wow, how cool. That would have been so cool if I would have had like something like that.
I literally got mine playing basketball. I've told this story before. I was only 9, and I
Yeah,
had no idea when I came running in the house. I thought I was dying, of course.
right.
And I remember my father's first words were, "She's not old enough." My stepmother reporting, "Well, I have to disagree with you on that one."
Mother Nature disagrees
Yeah.
as well.
But we've been told for years that it was, I mean, for a long time it was celebrated. And then all of a sudden now it's been
Yeah.
shoved under the rug, you
Well,
know.
yeah, because society, just like with anything else, pokes fun at it. It's disgusting. There's like that whole famous joke, like, I don't believe anything that bleeds for 5 days and doesn't
Yeah.
die. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but we even had a conversation about that today, about how, because she was like, why a ceremony? And I'm like, dude, like, this is a big deal. Like, it's not gross. It's none of that stuff. Like, you need to embrace it. You know what I mean? So
I
she was,
think if that had been done for me and for a lot of other women in my age group, um, we probably would have had a whole different attitude towards
oh, sure.
um, it happening and dealing with it every month. As it was, we felt it was a drudgery. We felt it was horrible. We felt, I mean, we didn't have any good
And,
feeling about ourselves. So if you feel something you're doing is bad, you feel bad about your whole self.
right. And she even actually mentioned that. She was like, because I was like, are you guys talking about, you know, because she had some questions we've touched on it a little bit before, but not super in depth. Of course, today we went way more in depth. But she was like, "Why does everyone? I thought it was like so like bad, and is it as bad as everyone says it is?" And I'm like, "Listen, you might have cramps, you might not. Everyone is different. It's something you deal with. It's not the most comfortable. It's this and that." But I said, "But." Looking at the big picture, it's something to be celebrated, and we had that whole conversation. So,
Right. It's like cutting your teeth. Yes, it hurts, but it's a milestone.
right, or giving birth. It's
Right.
like,
We're not even going to talk about that one.
right, right.
You
But
know,
I'm
it's
saying,
it's just bringing them up, and that's really important for our young girls, for them to have good positive body image. It's
yes,
the whole body.
right,
So
yeah,
when you tell it one part is not good, or one part is trouble, or one part's problems, then
right,
it encompasses the whole body at that point.
exactly. Yeah,
So
so I wanted to. She was giving me a hard time earlier, and I threatened to. I said, don't piss me off. I'm going to tell everyone on the air what happened. She was like, do it. And she was like, I don't care. And she was like being a smartass. And I was like, okay, girl. but I mean, that jokes aside, though, I thought it was a good thing to bring up for this episode because that's not something I had when I was.
no, and that's very important. In our path, we celebrate it. It's coming of age. We have a name for it. We have a ceremony for it. There is a ceremony for coming of age, by the way. It's
Yeah.
in the book. But there's a whole thing that you can do. I've been privileged to attend a couple of these. I've never hosted one, but I've been as an attendee. And of course, I bawl like a baby every time. I'll tell you that ahead of time.
Right.
But it is so enlightening to see, even years later, these young women are now embracing it. They're like, okay, well, hey, Doesn't mean I have to. Okay, there's some things I'm going to do today I might not do tomorrow. I understand my body's changing. So these girls, not only are they more equipped physically to handle it, they're more equipped mentally to handle it because they know what's going to happen, the breakage that's, but it's not going to last the rest of your life, honey. This is what, and being able again to have that older female around who can, fill you in on some of the horror stories we tell each other as we sit there and
Right.
drink our tea, but just to give them that little reinforcement, and it empowers a woman. She's in control of her body and she
Ex-
understands it. Nothing is worse than having something go on with your body and you not know what it is.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Get sick or have something go wrong and you have to go to a doctor for tests. You are out of control at that point because you don't know
Oh,
what they're going to tell you.
oh, I know. Um, but yeah, so I just wanted to mention that I thought it was good to bring up. I
Well,
know.
we're all talking about Mother's Day now. I'm telling you, I'm loving this because the first Mother's Day and the first Father's Day are guests from what state? Yes, my home state of West Virginia. Woot woot. Let's hear it for West Virginia. Um, it's really weird because when you start researching this, you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. But the first Mother's Day was actually Grafton, West Virginia. I'm not
Wow.
too far from there.
I
So
did not know that.
yes, I knew this story because okay, let me explain. West Virginia doesn't have a whole lot to go whoop whoop for. So when you drive into some of these little towns, like the first Father's Day was actually done in Fairmont, West Virginia, which is where my birth certificate says I was born. So when you drive into Fairmont, it says home of the first Father's Day. So
Oh, cool.
yes, it does. So they have these little placards up, and as a kid, you see them and you totally ignore them. Then, as you get to be an adult, you're like, wait a minute, the first Father's Day was in Fairmont. You
You're
know,
like,
like, oh, wow,
right.
West Virginia is on the map. But most people don't know it. The very, very first one that was official. Now, you have to understand the woman who did this, her mother died in Grafton and she was very upset and just wanted to celebrate and continue on her mother's love by celebrating a day for all moms because when you lose your mom it is a devastating loss. And the very first one was celebrated in 1907, and
Wow.
Anna Jarvis was the young lady who held the memorial for her mother at St. Andrew's Methodist Church in Grafton, West Virginia. So
Wow.
yes, and I just love it. And now the church holds the International Mother's Day Shrine. So if you ever want
Wow.
to go to the shrine, you need to go to Grafton, West Virginia. Grafton is outside. Now this is sad. I'm going to tell you where it's at because you're never going to find it. It's outside of Morgantown, Fairmont area, and it's if you look for Morgantown, then you look for Fairmont, and then you're going to find Grafton. You when you're from a small
Right.
town, you start with the community and you work your way up to a town where someone goes, I know that. And that's where you
Yeah,
stop. But
exactly.
they have a shrine there that you can go visit. It gets very busy on Mother's Day, obviously. A lot of the natives are there. The West Virginians are very proud of that. So it was kind of cool, to research it and find out. Now, they have been trying to celebrate mothers a different way since millennium, so I'm not even going to tell you how many years it went on. But that was actually the very first one. So in 1908, the U.S. Congress, they at first rejected it, believe it or not. And because they said if you did that, you would also have to have a mother in law's day. But owing to the efforts of Anna Jarvis, nothing was going to stop her. By 1911, all U.S. states observed the holiday. So finally, um, they officially started recognizing it. And of course, the first state to do it was West Virginia. In 1914, Woodrow Wilson signed a proclamation designating Mother's Day be held on the second Sunday in May as a national holiday to honor mothers. So you can thank Anna Jarvis from Grafton. who
That's
wanted to celebrate it. Now, it has gone out everywhere. Mother's
great.
Day is something that is celebrated around the world now. So I think it's very special that something that big started in a little place called Grafton, West Virginia. So I'm like, oh yeah, West Virginia. So we got
You're
both
like, woo.
Mother's Day and Father's Day. So y'all, I'm sorry if you're from another state. We'll try to smile about it. But it was really nice. So it is now all international. Almost every country celebrates it on the second Sunday
Sun.
in May.
Wow, that's cool.
So that's a pretty cool little story. So now you know where it came
Yeah.
from. You can thank Anna Jarvis. If you get a chance, I have been to the church. It's my home state. It's not too far from where I'm from. As we say, it's just around the bend in the holler. Um,
Holler. That cracks me up every time, the holler.
I know people just look at me and they go, "You really? Yeah, I grew up in a holler.
Yeah. You
Um,
see holler, you're like, yeah, you're from West Virginia.
I'm a holler girl." No, I say right cheer. That means I'm from West Virginia instead of
There you
right
go.
cheer. That is a typical West Virginia word. But if you get a chance to go to Grafton, and you obviously will stop at the United Methodist Church there, and they do have a shrine, and it's very beautiful. It's not super ornate, but it's the simplicity will is what you want for your mother. It's very beautiful. But I hope all the moms around get to have a nice Mother's Day. Um, this is my eighth Mother's Day as a great grandmother, so it's kind of like wow.
Yeah.
Um, I just never thought I would live long enough to see grandchildren, let alone great grandchildren. So I am extremely blessed. Um, I am very excited that my family still celebrates paganism on top of it. So,
Yes.
we're passing
Bone.
it down mother to
Absolutely.
daughter, and it's really cool. But this is a time to start thinking about if you have girls, the coming of age, if you have younger girls. It doesn't matter when you celebrate it, really, it just as long as you celebrate it. Red tents are very important. If you don't have one in your group, there are gazillion of them online on Zoom everywhere. If you do have a group and have one, put it out there, especially for Mother's Day. Red tents are very important since we don't have that communal living anymore.
Right.
Our red tents allow us that open area where we can safely say things or ask things because as you go from maid, mother to crone, you go through not just physical changes but mental and psychological changes. So it's really nice to be able to come into a safe forum where you can ask a question, or if you can get confirmation on something, or if you just need an outlet to say, oh my gosh, you will not believe what happened. Most red tents are open forums. None should ever be recorded. I know the ones I do are never recorded. It's open forum. If I don't know the answer to something, I've been known to say, hang on, and literally go to my bookshelf and pull a book out and come back and say, this is, this.
What? Right.
Um, it's a time of information, it's a time of learning, but it's also a time of coming together as women to celebrate who we are and what we are. We are a force to be dealt with, and it's time that we took back that power. And we need to, it's not taking away the power from the men, we need to build our power up to be equal because
Yes.
that's what we are. We are equal partners in a relationship.
Yes.
And the red tents are an excellent source of that. Our green tents, I don't know of many groups that do green tents, but Reverend Chad, who does a wonderful men's green tent, allows men the same privilege to come together in a safe environment to discuss things where again we're not living in multi-generational communities anymore, so you don't
Exactly.
get those words of wisdom, like will
We
you
also
ever
have,
stop teething.
oh gosh, I know. Then we also have the rainbow tent. So yeah, there's a lot of good things out there. There's a lot of good resources. You can also find us on Corellian Times Facebook page. We're putting a lot of, it's a, yes, it's Corellian times because it's written and created by Corellians, but it's a pagan paper. It's a newsletter. It's
Yeah.
got a lot of relatable things. And if you're interested in Crystal Cavaliers, it is for the Corellian tradition, children's ministry slash scouts. You're welcome to message me or message the Tea Time page or email, and I can always give you more information about that. Of course, dealing with minors, super, super private, privacy laws, that whole thing is taken into account, permission slips, the whole 9 yards, and it's ages 3 to 18. So,
But it is something to keep in mind, especially if you have younger girls. Um, Start thinking about what's going to happen and how you need to celebrate that and how you need to focus on that for
because
them.
I'm doing it now
Yeah.
as of today.
She can tell you how she's sweating this one out.
I'm like, oh, but I do think it was kind of cool that it was like just in time for Mother's Day. I thought that was kind of,
Yeah, that's kind of special. Kind of like she waited to let you, now you've gone
yeah.
through
And even like
as a mom.
she was like, "Can I text Erica?" which is her big sister, my 22-year-old. And I was like, "Yeah, it's your sister. Like, yeah, you can talk about stuff like that." And then I texted Erica separately, and I was like, "Haley is going to have something to tell you, FYI." And then she messaged me back, and she goes, "I know." Cry face waterfall cry emoji, because even as a sibling, when you have those relationships and you've gone through it, and it's like, oh, my baby sister is, it's
She's
like,
growing up.
right, and they're 10 years apart, so it's like,
It is,
so
and it's difficult, and it's great. You've got a heck of a foundation for her. She's able to talk to many, many
oh
women.
yeah, yeah,
And you'll find that out in a lot of your circles as you start, as you start coming around more and more. And I'm going to say pagans as a whole, because we're usually a little bit more freer and we talk about these things a little bit more because it is a part of our tradition. It is a part of our path. It's part of who we are, and
right,
it's something that's natural. It
natural,
should
exactly,
not be talked about. So, time for sweeping it under the rug is done, but it is definitely something. And if your group does not do coming of age ceremonies, um, we in the Corellians, goodness, we are so prepared. We have the whole life celebrations, and it is about, we go everywhere from birth to adoption to adult adoption to coming of life to funerals and everything. It's in a book for us that is written up by Lord Don, and you are able to do the ceremonies, read through the book, and understand a few things. If you don't have any boys, kind of like you did
I
not get
don't,
graced with a son, the coming of age for a young man is in there, which I needed for my son and
yes,
my grandsons. So that was, a page I could look at because I know about coming of age for a girl. I'm a girl, kind of. And
yeah,
I remember going through that, but I
right,
had no idea coming of age for a young man because I'm obviously not that. But
right,
I was able to do it. So there are resources out there for you. But this is, if you're with a group, this is a great time for your group to get together,
absolutely,
Corellian or not, to maybe come up with these kind of services so
yeah.
that, you're not left hanging in the wind, so to speak, when this time comes. Because I know with Angela, she's got the book. She's probably already got your certificate half built out.
Yeah, I
I
already know.
know
Well, like I
Angela.
said, we've been planning it for years. We're just waiting for it to happen. So when I messaged her today, I'm like, it happened. Like, and she knew exactly what I was talking about. So,
So as you can see, then that would be, something that is brought to the group, and it's not a shame thing. It's a wonderful thing, and that's what we're trying to do, is to let women know and young girls that it is not horrible. You will survive, and
yes,
it is
and it's
something.
also important to instill that it's not shameful. I immediately told my husband. She was at first reluctant, like, oh, I don't want dad to know. I'm like, listen, he's married to a woman. He's got 3 daughters. Like, this is his second go round, and then he's got one more after you. So it's like, and it's natural. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Men know that it exists. It's nothing, that we can control. It's nothing to be ashamed of. So I think instilling that at a young age is really important.
It
Um,
is, and that it's not to be swept under the rug, that it is what it is. If you're not feeling good because you have your period, you're not feeling good because you have your period. I'm not feeling good. I have allergies, as you can hear.
Yeah.
This is the first day I've been able to
Oh,
actually
I
be
just got over
free.
mine.
You just got over yours, and I got mine Monday. I didn't think I was going to make it through work. I was so sick. But just like I have my allergies, I mean, why am I ashamed of having allergies? You know,
Right.
you shouldn't be ashamed of your body. So
Exactly.
that's
And
something.
definitely do the coming of age for boys too, not leaving them out. Just focused more on this because it happened today and it was fresh on my mind. But definitely make sure you include the boys. It's just as important. And fathers, don't be jealous because we have your show covered next month. We'll be all about the daddies
And
next
then
month.
we're going to have another lesson from West Virginia. I'll put
Oh,
my West,
yes,
I'll wear
yes,
my West Virginia Mountaineer,
yes.
shirt. Yeah, I do have several. Um, I'm from, and I'm actually going back there in July.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
I
Well,
do.
make sure, yeah, she'll have all her stuff on. And as a reminder, keyword is mother. Mother. Email teatimemc@gmail.com and we will announce the winner next week.
Okay, so make sure that you guys write that down, get it into us. Michelle, I remember that name. That's my oldest one's name, Michelle. So that stuck.
Yep.
So Michelle from
Congratulations,
Colorado.
Michelle from Colorado.
I'm very excited for you. We'll be sending your mug out this week. So if you could send us a picture back when you get it, just say you got it so we know it made it there.
Posted
Um,
on the Tea Time Facebook page.
we will definitely post it on our page. We might even, if one of us figures out how to work our computers, we can actually print it off and, hold it up. I'm still working on figuring out mine. Mine has been the
That's
last
okay.
2 weeks
And your allergies.
have
And
been fun.
it's late.
Yeah, the last 2 weeks have been an absolute riot for me. So I'm
Oh,
trying
I
to get my life back together. Um, I will be in Jacksonville over Mother's Day. Then
yeah.
at the end of the month again for
Yes.
another event. Uh, July, I will be coming to you probably. I will be coming to you from West Virginia.
Yeah.
Um, that's going to be interesting.
That'll be
Um,
fun.
well, yeah, I have to find out who has internet strong enough.
Well,
You
if that has to be our bye week, that's okay too.
Well, you have to understand
Well,
it's about the state, and if you're in certain areas, we
oh
have
yeah.
dead areas. So it's
Oh, for
kind of
sure.
like you take the cell phone and you go out, signal.
Yeah, exactly. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me
Yeah, can
now?
you hear me now? So I will be actually coming next month to you from West Virginia. So um,
Whoa.
we might
Oh, you should go to the shrine. You should
in
go to
Grafton. I could actually go down to
or
the
take a
shrine in
picture in
Grafton.
front of the sign
I can go
for
down to
Father's Day.
Grafton. Grafton's only going to be about maybe an hour from where I'm at.
You could
Um,
get a picture in front of the Father's Day sign for next month's show.
what I'm going to try to do is get a hold of some of my other relatives out there and see if we can't come up with a little bit of what we call homegrown magic.
That would be
See if I
awesome.
can't pull up some of the superstitions and the cool things that have happened in West Virginia. And we'll talk a little bit about
Get that Appalachia magic.
get that Appalachia out on us here. That's going to be fun. I'm going to see if I can't tap into some of my
That
relatives
would be
down there, see who I can blackmail into giving me information. But it's going to be fun. I enjoy going back on occasion to see my what's left of my family. We just lost the last member of my father's generation, so we are down to my generation now. So it's getting smaller as time goes on, but we all understand it's the cycle of life, but it doesn't make it any easier. So it's going to be, I like to go back just to visit that. But when you're talking about your mom, now you got to remember when mom's not around, now is the time. And I really, really push this to get your information, your background, anything that your mother can provide to you, number one, health wise, and number two, in your family, and number three, just things about you as a child, so that you do carry them and write them down for posterity. because if you don't have your
Absolutely.
mom around, my mom was gone when I was young. I didn't realize I was lactose intolerant. I just know I didn't like the taste of milk. So when I had my son and we were having issues with formula, fortunately my aunt was like, "Oh well, don't you remember when you were a baby you couldn't drink milk either?"
Right.
I'm like, "Oh, who knew?" And she was like, "Yeah, you were on goat's milk," and I was like, "Nobody in my entire family up until when I had my son had told me that. Nobody."
Wow.
And it came as a complete like out of the like, why was no one ever telling me this stuff? And
Yeah.
everybody assumes that your mother gives you this information. That
Right.
does not always happen. So I like to tell everybody, if you're a mom, you need to write down everything about your children, put it in their baby books, and hand it to them.
Yes.
My son was able to take his baby book for his firstborn, and yes, she had a couple things that he had that we
Oh.
knew wasn't a problem because
Yeah.
he had it and I had documented it. So just little things like that. So a great thing for your mom would be to sit down and actually talk to your moms,
They
record.
have these cool things out now that has they're like mother daughter journals where it has like a mother side, a daughter side, and they have
Right.
it for mother son and vice versa. And you it's kind of like a conversation and it's like a getting to know
Yeah.
you and how it was when you were a kid. I have a couple of them um, that I've picked up that have not been used yet, so we need to do that. But it was such a great show. We
Yes.
are long on time as usual, but it was so much fun. We don't care. um, and it was a great show. I mean, honestly, we could do several shows on pig and parenting, and and we will. We'll sprinkle them throughout with our experiences and different things we can do. But it was such a great show, and next week we're going to go into divination.
Okay. So now you all need to pay attention to the divination part.
Right. We're going to
Yeah.
have a little divination series. So each week we're going to highlight a little different divination each week. So it's going to be fun.
So it's going to be a little hands-on. So we're going to have a couple things we're going to show you. So we might not be in the same venues because we might have to move tables and chairs so we can
Right.
show you what we're doing.
Right.
I know I'm going to have to shift gears to, make mine work, but
Right.
we definitely want to do that. And again, remember, guys, if you've missed one of our shows and you're interested in it, Melinda has done an excellent job at saying what our shows are each time and giving a little, intro on the clips. So if you go into our history pages for YouTube or anything like that, you can flip through and see which one you missed or see something that you might want to, tap back in on that we said something and you now have mother's memory, as I call it, where it's scattered all over the world.
Oh my God.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and you want to bring something back up. We do offer parenting, and if you notice, almost every other episode, we have a little parenting gig in there because that's who we are. We're
Right.
parents. So we throw this stuff in.
Mother
Sometimes
and
I
Crone.
don't even remember half the time someone will say something to me about my daughter, especially will say, on the show you said da da da. And I'm like, I did. She's like,
Oh,
don't
yeah.
you ever watch her shows? Like,
This is like a reading. Like we're just going with the flow, and it's like we don't remember what happened after the fact. We just know it was good.
our script is literally here. We
Right.
have the basic idea. That's why,
We have some good information that we'll talk about and research and things
yeah.
like that. But other
We
than that,
have great information. It's called,
internet.
internet. But
But
the other thing is, we do really.
there's several sources, like we've said before. But and of course, when it comes to magical things, it's more whatever your preference is. Um, but it was really great. I had lots of
I
fun.
loved it. Remember to, if your mom's here or not here, just say hi to her.
Yes,
And remember again to watch us next week so you can see who won this week. So maybe you can win next week. Okay.
that's right. And you can listen out for that keyword.
Yeah, we got to figure out a keyword now.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's the easy part.
that's our part. All right, she's saying it's easy. I'm sitting here going, I can't remember my name, let alone a word of the week. So we want to thank everybody for stopping in again. Remember, keep it witchy, keep it real. See you
Yes, sir.
later.